Greetings, ladies and gentlefish, and welcome to this pair of subscriber replays, courtesy of Tanker3069 in his IS-3. Now, you may remember Tanker. He's sent in a few IS games before that I've shown. And so, this time, however, he is bumping it up a tier to the IS-3, Tier 8 Soviet heavy tank. Now, it looks like he might have had some problems loading into the game because the replay started, well, when you saw it start. And Tanker was very late loading in. So it might have been his client crashed or something like that. I don't know. We shall see. Anyway, we're here on Karelia. This is an assault game and Tanker is on the defending team. One thing that a lot of people do wrong when they're playing this map, when they're defending, is that they just camp at the base. The problem with doing that is then you do not have anybody providing you vision. And so when you fire, you get spotted and you get obliterated by the enemy team. You need some people who push the fight out a little bit and take the fight to the enemy. And that's what Tanker's doing. I mean, the IS-3 is not exactly a sniper, despite how some people seem to try to play it. Much in common with the other Soviet heavy tanks. And so Tanker here is pushing forwards. And indeed he's a top tier tank, so if he wants to have a good impact on this game, he should really be relatively aggressive. And already he's spotted out an FV304 and a T25-2 who doesn't really seem to pay Tanker much attention. Which seems strange, seeing as an IS-3 is usually at the top of, well, toward the top of many people's oh god, oh god, oh god, it must die list. But there we go. Tanker does take a hit there from the FV304, but the IS-3 has pretty awesome side armour, and the FV has a pretty small gun. Enemy IS-3 down here has outflanked them, so Tanker just gets himself in a position to do something about it. Oh, ISU-152 just nuked their Hellcat. And suddenly Tanker's position is looking a little dubious. We know we've got an IS-3, a T25/2, a T28 and that FV in this area versus Tanker and the friendly STA-1, which is a little problematic. And the STA-1 has lost a chunk of health, but Tanker manages to accidentally, I assume, exploit one of the big fat weaknesses of the IS-3. Frontal or side shots toward the front of the tank can and will quite happily damage and destroy the ammo rack of this tank. Now, you may have seen a video where I was in the VKA, the Tier 8 German heavy tank. It was on Prokhorovka, if memory serves, and I basically do the same thing to an IS-3 from long range. I put a shot into his, I think the shot goes about through his front axle, detonates his ammo rack, and the IS-3 goes pop. Tanker just pulled the same thing. I've only recently bought the IS-3 myself. Mine's stock. I haven't played it very much. Nice bounce. Haven't played it very much, and I think I've played 2 games in it in total, and I've been ammo racked both games. I didn't actually die from it, but I've had my ammo rack damaged in both games. So, what's left over here? Comet, T28, T25-2, FV304. Ooh, T28 just took a nice big hit. Tanker aims for the weak spots. Alas, he's not able to put that shot through. The IS-3's gun is rather unreliable, but AMX-5100 has him covered. And bless him, Tanker's gentlemanly enough to say thank you to the AMX. So, T25/2 is going to struggle to penetrate the front of the IS-3. He has 170mm of average penetration. In order to penetrate the front of an IS-3, he is going to have to do one of 3 things. 1, load APCR. 2, shoot the roof of the IS-3's turret, which is 20mm thick and can be overmatched by the gun on the chaffee. 3, he might be able to penetrate if he aims for the very pike, the very end of the pike of the nose of this tank. Just right at the bottom there. Not the lower plate. Just the bottom of the upper plate, if that makes sense. Certainly with about 180mm of penetration, with carefully aimed shots, you can penetrate that with some reliability. So, hello T25-2, goodbye T25-2, and bounce the shot from him. The FV is still over here. There's still a Borsig and an ISU up on that hill, so getting spotted by the FV could be really problematic. According to the T25-2, apparently Tanker here is a noob. I'm not really sure how that pans out, seeing as Tanker did just absolutely wreck him. But there we go, you know. People are funny in how they react to things. It's like they'll call you a terrible player. Really? But I just killed you. So if I'm terrible, you must be absolutely abysmal. But what you gonna do? Tanker's playing this game well. The only thing I would say perhaps is against that T28. He gave the guy a shot into his side armour and then spent the time to aim at the chap's commander's hatch. I would have taken a little bit more, either more or less time there. Either pull out, give him a shot into your side armour, but take the shot against his weak spot so quickly that hopefully the guy doesn't have time to take his shot against you. Or, secondly, if you want to aim your shot at the weak spot, side scrape out around the corner and use your, in some places, utterly ridiculous side armour. Anyway, the FV has clearly decided discretion is the better part of valour and sensibly run the hell away, which is not a terrible idea in the slightest. And Tanker is heading down toward the enemy spawn point to hopefully give the two tank destroyers a lesson in manners. And you've got the standard delete game gumph going on in chat, but let's not pay too much attention to that. In fact, if Tanker could find the FV, that would also be nice. You know, execute him. But the FV is a very quick little blighter, so I'm not quite sure where he will have gotten to. Now, despite the fact that you know, the Tanker's team should hopefully win this, those tank destroyers on top of the hill can still be a major threat. If the ISUs pack in the top gun, that's 750 average damage. Pretty much very little chance of Tanker reasonably bouncing it. Borsig, well, if he's got the big gun, Tanker has a better chance of bouncing it, but it's still 750 average damage. If he has the small gun, it's basically the same chance of bouncing it. Oh god, oh. But it's less alpha damage. As it is, it looks like the Borsig has the big gun, but he missed that shot on Tanker's bum. So if Tanker goes down there, I don't know exactly what the reload on the Borsig is, he should hopefully be able to execute the Borsig. Like that. And then he just has to worry about the ISU. FV304 has run all the way round to the other side of the map. Looks like he might be about to engage in a duel with the friendly FV. But Tanker's still up here, and he wants to sock it to that ISU. Now, interestingly here, of course, even if the ISU does put a shot into him, assuming he doesn't rack Tanker, and we all know what the IS-3's ammo rack is like by now, I hope. Oh no, he's on full health. Oh, this is dodgy. Okay, so if Tanker can use all of his gun depression, like 5 or 6 degrees or something, and just give the ISU shots at his turret. Ooh, Jesus, where did that penetrate? Then he might be able to bounce him. Oh, never mind, shot right through the turret cheek. Maybe not. Okay, so Tanker can put in another shot before the ISU reloads. So Tanker, you could argue this is a little bit of a mistake. I can understand why Tanker is running away, but he has the reload on the ISU. He can put one more shot into him before the ISU reloads, and the ISU is sluggish enough that he'd really struggle to chase Tanker down. As it was in that engagement, the ISU really had the better of the engagement, putting an average 750 damage into Tanker for his average 390 return. Having said that, the ISU just plows down the hill, gives Tanker 3 shots into his bum, which he takes, and now both of them are a one-shot, but as Tanker has the turret, you could very easily argue that Tanker has the advantage in this scenario. And if they both were to fluff their shot for whatever reason, Tanker has the reload advantage as well. So we know roughly where that ISU is. Tanker could just rush him down, but oh no, I was going to say, but this is the safer option, waiting for his allies to get here. But with only 20 seconds of this game left, even if Tanker were to rush in and die, it wouldn't lose the game for his team. This game is won now. So if I were Tanker, I would just go for it. What you got to lose? But if Tanker wants to play more conservatively, I entirely understand that.
3, 2,
1. And game over. There we go. So, I would offer 2 bits of advice from that replay, if I may be so bold. 1, be careful. If you're going to aim at someone's weak spot, try and show them your strongest armor. If you're going to show them much weaker armor, like your side profile, make your shot a lot quicker to try and reduce the chances of you taking damage from them. And 2, be aware of your enemy's reload. Tanker could have got a second shot into the ISU while he was reloading and then run away, and he probably could have gotten away without the ISU chasing him down and killing him. So that'd be my advice. But a lovely game with a hilarious IS-3 ammo rack. They're always good for a laugh. Take a look at the post-battle results, and then we will go to another of Tanker's replays. Here is Tanker's second game. Again, he's driving the IS-3. And again, he's top tier, which is always nice when you're driving a heavy tank. And it also means that Tanker's pike nose frontal armour is quite reliable. In fact, if we look at the rundown of the enemy team, I mean, certainly there are tanks that can put a hole in the pike nose of the IS-3, especially with some careful aiming. But generally speaking, his armour should hold up fairly well. So, this is an encounter game. We're here on, I can't even remember the name of the map. Steps. There we go. Got there eventually. And there's a couple of different ways approaching this. The traditional place for heavy tanks to go on this map is the way that Tanker's currently going, up the 1 and 2 lines. The problem with doing this, especially on an encounter game, is that if the enemy just rush into the capture circle, they can capture it, and if your heavy tanks are pushing down this line, they just end up having a pointless fight that doesn't end up assisting your team in the capture circle. However, the flip side is that if the timing works, the push down the 1 and 2 lines can still be quite effective. So, AMX M445 and Tiger 2, they are not the best 2 targets to just come across in the IS-3 because both of them can quite happily put big holes in Tanker's, well, tank. SU-100, however, ooh, hello little boy. But, Soviet accuracy, shot doesn't even hit. Tanker bounces a shot from something in the background, not really sure what, didn't look like it was the SU, and manages to put a hole in the front of the enemy IS-3, dodges the return fire from the IS-3 as he puts himself into a side-scraping position. And this IS-3 is having an incredibly bad day, and Tanker picks up the kill. First kill of the game, first blood, and definitely, obviously, the first kill for him. So, AMX AC-46. The front armour's not really thick enough to give him many problems, but he aims for the weak spot anyway. If that were an AMX AC-48, then yes, aiming for the weak spot is a good idea, but on the 46, the 90mm of sloped armour, I doubt would give the BL9 gun on this tank many problems. AMX AC-46 puts a shot in, KV-5 finishes him off, and then he's just advancing on the Tiger 2. Now, you can see a lot of the enemy team have gone down towards the capture circle. However, enough of Tanker's team have also taken that flank that they should be able to buy Tanker and the rest of the heavy tanks who are over here enough time to work around and flank the bejesus out of those guys. Hello, Tiger 2. Tanker puts a shot into his lower plate. That Tiger 2 bounces his shot. Looks like he might have been using the long 88 gun rather than the 105 as he had the stock turret there. Or possibly the short 105, I guess. But the gun didn't look very short. Anyway, I'm blathering. Game is 5-2 for the better, but the enemy team are capturing the capture circle. But as I said, Tanker's team have machines and players in place to make that a very tricky and a very difficult proposition. Tiger 1, oh no, he's all the way over by the enemy capture circle. Jackson is also over in that general direction. And there's no artillery in this game, which again is nice from the perspective of a heavy tank. And with no artillery and few tank destroyers, half of which are dead, it means that Tanker and the rest of the heavy tanks over here are unlikely to find much opposition over by the enemy spawn point before they actually make it over toward the capture circle. So anyway, the IS-3, I mean, for all its faults, and you could see one of those in the previous video, ammo rack's a little bit fragile and not in a very good place. It's got a decent gun and it's a pretty mobile tank, and, you know, it can bounce a good number of shots. It doesn't have the best armor of the tier 8 heavies, certainly. And the gun, well, it's a good gun. Exactly how good it is going to depend on whether you can deal with the derpiness of those Soviet 122mm guns. But there we go, and hello Mr. Tiger. Tiger's currently missing a chunk of health. Now, the Tiger, if he's careful with his shot placement, can put shots right through the front of Tanker's hull, as he does, and Tanker's ammo rack gets damaged. Yup, right through the pike nose. And there we go, weakness of the IS-3. Ammo rack is made of tissue and garbage. IS-3 puts, Tanker puts a shot into the rear of the enemy T-29, and he can just keep popping over here and damaging the enemy team. Now, I would advise him to put a shot into someone different to try and reset the base again, but Tanker doesn't need telling that, he does it anyway. If you are trying to reset the enemy capture counter thingy and make sure they don't win by cap, you have to divide your shots up between the available enemy team members to make sure that no one of them or two of them rack up enough capture points to win the game. There's an IS-3 over to Tanker's left-hand side, but they still need to be resetting this base. Tanker gets a shot onto the Panther II, but it's quite clear now that it's the IS-6 who's sitting on those capture points. Now, this is encounter. They're not under massive pressure as the encounter cap circle goes up very slowly, and good night, sweet prince. IS-6 takes a series of big fat hits and is now dead. Just a pair of IS-3s remaining, and Tanker is rapidly coming up behind one of them. And this was a relatively short and brutal game. IS-3 fighting the friendly 112. In that sort of engagement, the problem is that the 112's gun is lacking in penetration, and the IS-3's is not. Tanker comes in, lends a hand, and manages to pick up the kill on that IS-3. There's one more IS-3 on the enemy team remaining, and Tanker's going to go and give him the good news, with any luck. Just speed this up a little bit. And there we go. The enemy IS-3 dies, and Tanker says he wishes he had this team every game. It was well played. The team did well, it was a good all-round performance, and Tanker's performance in particular was very nice indeed. So, I hope you enjoyed that pair of subscriber replays. If you did, please feel free to catch some of my other videos, and or subscribe to my channel, and feel free to upload your own replays to whatreplays.com, send me the link and tell me what's cool about it, and they may well feature on the channel at some later date. So thank you very much, Tanker, for sending those in. I wish you all very happy hunting on that battlefield. Ciao ciao.